Over 3,400 fresh COVID-19 infections have been added to the country's caseload. NCR remains under alert level 3, but some are calling for a further downgrade. An investigation into the death of a journalist in Davao del Sur is underway. A top-ranking member of the NPA is confirmed dead following a military encounter in Bukidnon. And a viral food delivery rider shares his heartwarming story. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Riza Diaz. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion says COVID-19 restrictions in NCR must be relaxed to alert level 2 in order to save the fourth quarter. To tell us more, we have with us on the line, or rather via Zoom, this evening, Sir Joey. Sir Joey, Mr. Concepcion, good evening.
Good evening, Riza.
Sir, first off, thank you for joining us. But tell us, how big of a need is it to further ease the restrictions in NCR?
Well, first, when we called the lockdown first week of August, the private sector pushed for this 2-week early lockdown, and the mayors followed suit and joined us with it. And that was advised by Octa for us to be able to save the fourth quarter. And as seen, the judgment was right, because cases went up and they predicted by October first week, cases will go down. So we are seeing the projections made by Octa to be very accurate, which we followed. And we expect that we should move from alert level 3 to alert level 2. Now, they've extended alert level 3 for another 2 weeks, which is fine. But the peak of the fourth quarter starts on November 15, all the way till the end of the year. This is when everybody goes out to shop, and that's important. They go out to shop, they start to enjoy, they start to go to the restaurants and all of that. Now, remember, we had so many lockdowns this year, and many of these business establishments have lost money and need to get better cash flow to be able to pay the 13-month pay, to pay their obligations with the bank, and the list goes on. So if the delay on bringing it down to alert level 2 will happen, then many of these business establishments will move over to the year 2022 with a financial problem and maybe with government obligations still. Because the 13-month pay is a mandatory thing that many people have to do.
Sir, some health experts are actually backing up the claim that NCR is ready to be downgraded to alert level 2. Although there are still a few some are still in the fence because of the rising death toll in the country. What's your reaction to this?
I don't know if that's pretty accurate, the rising death toll of one day. That must be an accumulation of some delayed reports. So I wouldn't put much thought on that. But what's important is the infection level is going down very fast. And if we really trust the vaccines that we purchased, the vaccines will protect many people from hospitalization. And what's more important is we have to save the economy, because if we don't save the economy, people will suffer, hunger and all of this. You have a lot of people in despair because they can't pay their obligations. So we have to really allow the economy to open. And what are we waiting for? Now, the cases are going down very fast. You can see about 3,000 cases in the entire Philippines, very, very low numbers already. And now the economy needs help. And the government needs also tax revenues for them to be able to fund all of these initiatives in buying vaccines. No, this is not going to end next year. This is going to continue.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned vaccines. On that note, can you give us an update perhaps on the vaccination on the private sector part?
Well, the AstraZeneca vaccines are arriving. There are about 1.3 million on a monthly basis arriving, and hopefully that will be completed by February next year. Of course, the Moderna for the private sector also has arrived, and the Secretary Galvez's orders of Pfizer, Moderna, Sinovac all are coming in. We will have, I would say, an oversupply of vaccines. If we look at vaccine hesitancy in the provincial areas, is going to be challenging. In a survey done by Okta Research, shows vaccine hesitancy in the provincial areas with the CDE market is very high. Now, the LGUs and the mayors and the barangays will have to really step up, because now you have vaccines available for everyone now in the country. Now, the rollout is very important, and that's why vaccination acceptance has to increase. So that's a lot of work that has to be done.
Sir, other than, of course, the downgrade, should it happen to alert level 2, you're also proposing for, or rather to scrap the facility-based quarantine for some travelers. Can you tell us more about this?
Well, we have proposed to IATF that, our first request of bringing down the number of days has been done. And I thank IATF for allowing 5 days for fully vaccinated in facility quarantine and 7 days for the unvaccinated. But as we see that the number of arrivals has to increase beyond 4,000, Philippine Airlines is in financial distress. Now, if we don't save these airlines, and the only way to save them is to allow more people to come to this country, then this PAL will not be able to pay up its obligations or its commitments under Chapter 11 filing in America. No? So that's very important. We lose the airline, we lose tourism for good. No? So that's why we're pressing that hopefully they will allow, upon arrival, our suggestion is to take a PCR test 48 hours prior to departure, and upon arrival, take a PCR test again, which was one of the advice of one of the members of IATF. And what we're saying is that for those who have homes in NCR, then they can take the PCR test at home, and that they should be pre-booking that PCR test as a document when they arrive in the Philippines. Now, those who don't have homes in NCR and on transit to other locations, we're telling the government that then allow a 1-day quarantine for them to be able to take the PCR test for those people who don't have homes in NCR and who are in transit to other areas.
Right, Sir Joey Concepcion, maraming salamat. Thank you very much for joining us this evening and sharing with us your insights.
Thank
That's
you, Riza.
Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, Mr. Joey Concepcion. In the meantime, at least 4 areas will be placed under COVID-19 alert level 4 starting tomorrow. That includes Aurora, Bacolod City, Negros Oriental, and Davao Occidental. Metro Manila will remain under alert level 3 status for the time being. The same COVID-19 restrictions will be imposed in at least 10 more areas. Now, meanwhile, areas flashed on your screen will be placed under alert level 2. Now, as for the latest on COVID-19 numbers, the Health Department records over 3,400 new cases. This brings the country's total caseload to 2,787,000, of which about 45,200 are still active. Now, at least 128 more patients died of the disease overnight, pushing the death toll to over 43,000. Meanwhile, recoveries are now at 2.6 million, with more than 5,800 new survivors. Now, out of the 46,000 people tested for COVID-19, only 7.2% yielded positive results. Now, in other news, the Armed Forces applauds the operating troops under the Army's 4th Infantry Division for neutralizing George Caores Madlos, commander of the NPA's National Operations Command. AFP spokesperson Colonel Ramon Zagala described Madlos' death as a, quote, major blow to the communist groups in Mindanao. Zagala added that it is expected to usher in eventual peace in the region. PNP Chief Guillermo Elizar, meanwhile, placed police units on heightened alert in anticipation of possible retaliatory attacks from the NPA. Reports said state's forces engaged with more or less 30 communist rebels in a firefight which resulted in the death of Badlos and another rebel. Meanwhile, a journalist was killed in cold blood last night in Davao del Sur. The Secretary of Justice now says the Presidential Task Force on Media Security will be leading the investigation. Gemma Vansenia has the report.
Broadcast journalist Orlando Dinoy, also known as Dondon, was shot dead inside his apartment in Bansalan, Davao del Sur. The incident happened on Saturday night while he was preparing for his dinner. According to a witness, an armed man went out of the victim's house after a series of gunshots.
Palabas ako ng pintuan. Nakita ko yung pagbaba ng barel. Dalawa sila. Yung isa nakamotor, yung isa naka-jacket. Siya yung nagtago ng barel.
His father, Eddie Dinoy, said he still can't believe this happened to his eldest son, but he did not comment on the possible motives behind the killing.
Wala na.
Wala na kaming masasabi. Biniril na siya eh. Hindi rin kami naniniwalang masasolve itong case niya.
Police are now conducting an in-depth investigation. PNP Chief Guillermo Elizar said they will look at all possible angles of the case.
Paabot ko ang taus-puso pakikiramay sa mga naulila at kasamahan ni Orlando Dinoy, at bilang aksyon ay natasan ko na ang Regional Director ng Police Regional Office 11 na tutukan ang kasong ito upang mapanagot kung sino man ang may gawa ng krimeng ito.
Davao del Sur PNP said one of the angles they are looking into is personal grudge following social media attacks of the victim to some politicians.
May mga post sa social media na kinakalaban yung mga politicians natin dito. So, though, ngayon, nung connected na sa newsline, wala naman masyado na mga post, pero may mga old post pa before na may mga allegedly ginawa siyang mga post na medyo hindi rin maganda para doon sa mga politicians natin. So, yun yung mga pinapaloob natin na mga leads.
Media groups and personalities in Davao condemned the incident. Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas Davao City chapter said what happened to Dinoy is an attack and affront to the lives of journalists and freedom of expression. Davao del Sur Tri-Media Association is also appealing to the authorities and all concerned agencies to prioritize the investigation.
You should make it quick para ano naman yung kasabihan na justice delayed is justice denied. So kung patatagalin ito, maraming pwedeng magiging haka-haka.
Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara, meanwhile, advises all journalists and media personnel who feel that their lives are in danger to immediately contact Presidential Task Force on Media Security for protection. For News 5, Gemma Vansenia, we are One News.
Now for some light news, a photo of a food delivery rider tending to his baby while on his bike is making rounds online. Now what's the story behind this? Fake Del Mundo will tell us in this report.
A photo of a food delivery rider feeding a baby on his bike recently went viral. The uploader Jeremiel Quinto admits he was both amazed and worried when he saw the scene.
Natutuwa kasi yung pagiging ama niya is hindi niya yung responsibility niya bilang ama ko is hindi niya pinapabayaan, tapos gumagawa siya ng paraan ng mabuting paraan para matustusan yung pangangailangan ng anak niya. Siyempre po, at the same time, naaawa rin po kasi po para doon po sa baby, siyempre medyo delikado po yung ganong scene na nasa basket po yung baby, and then yung pollution po ng mga sasakyan na nalalanghap ng bata. Habang hinihintay niya po yung order is pinapadede niya muna yung anak niya. Ayun, kaya na-picture ko po, hindi ko po alam na magbabiral.
In an interview with News 5, the rider Hershey Manuel, who is only 18 years old, explained that it was the first time he brought his 5-month-old baby with him while at work. Manuel said he had no other choice that day because no one was available to take care of the child.
Nung asawa ko po kasi, may tinda po kami ng kaunting mga kwek-kwek po, ganon, mga fishball, mga kikiam. Kaysa naman po mabanlian ng mantika, sinama ko na lang po muna. Isang biyahe lang po yun, kumbaga kabilang kanto lang po. Tapos sabi ko, sama ko na muna kasi hatid ko lang, tumalapit lang po naman yung dideliveran ko. Mga tito ko po, may trabaho po yung tito ko. Tapos yung tita ko po, marami rin po kasi nabili dito sa may tindahan. Kaya sabi ko, sama ko na lang po muna kaysa naman po sa may lapag po.
He stressed that he made sure his baby was safe and secure, especially as his wife previously suffered from a miscarriage.
Nilagyan ko po ng ano po yun, yung una po yung kumot. Kumot po na may foam, tapos nilagyan ko po ng dalawang unan na bilog. Tapos isinendal ko po siya doon. Tapos dinalang ko na rin po ng dede.
Manuel balances his work and studies. He is currently in 3rd grade and dreams to be an engineer.
Ayoko po kasi nasasabihin ako ng ganun. Ayoko rin po matulad po yung anak ko sa akin. Gusto ko po nakapag-aral po ng mga anak ko.
His relatives also admired his hard work and perseverance.
Sobrang hands-on niya kasi nung hindi pa po siya nagpapanda rider, nag-aano rin po siya naglalako po ng kung ano-ano, tapos tumaraket din po sa mga pagpipintura.
Opo.
Tsaka ano rin po, nag-helper din po sa tindahan po na. Ayun po, pinagsasabay-sabay niya po, tsaka nag-aaral din po siya.
Many netizens were touched by his story and extended their help to the family. For News 5, Faith Del Mundo, we are One News.
Now for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.